Good afternoon, Mr. Kiley here with Marshals America, Team Navarre. Today's date is April 27th. This is your Little Dragon and Junior Adult Black Belt training class with the Psi. We're all the way through the Psi form at this point, so now our goal is to go back and make sure that each of the moves, each of the combinations, and the transitions, and all the stances in the form are the very best we can. Make sure we're not overlooking any of the small things that make form so much better and stronger than they start out being. Okay, so we're going to start just by warming up our wrists, kind of getting back into the flow of things with your offense and defense switch. Talked to a lot of you guys and your parents over the week, over the Wednesday, Thursday time frame and the Friday time frame, and they said you guys are practicing your Psi form. Super happy about that. Said you guys keep your Psi in your hands and you're practicing. You're doing a good job, and I'm very happy with that. And if there's any questions, I can definitely help you with that. Good. Next up, of course, is working on your Psi combination, that being the punch, fan, strike, down block. For those that I saw with the individual Zoom meetings, whether it's myself or the other instructors or the high-ranking leadership members, the guys that the ones I saw did a wonderful job. And then when I talked to the ones that I didn't get to see, they said you guys did a wonderful job as well. And so a big shout out to Miss Loveland and Miss Jeffries and Mr. Burton and Mr. Miller for coming in and checking you guys out, and Mr. DeCordy as well. And so the thing we talked about this time is we're going to try to do that again in a couple weeks. And in a couple weeks, one of our main focuses, especially for the black belt training students, is seeing how that Psi form is going, making sure that is getting better. So we're going to check your regular form out again, making sure that's improving. We might try to look at your self-defenses maybe. Good, have some ideas, but then we're also going to look at, specifically for the black belt trainers, making sure that your Psi form is starting to make a lot of sense. Let me see your X block. Good. Practice that a couple times. Once you get to the point where you can do it without looking at it, see? Again, everything is just from feel. So what you're feeling is this. Good, you feel the side drop on top, and you slide it all the way down to where it kind of sits in the yoke. And then you plant it. Very good. And then from here, you just kind of wrap it under. Good. So it's a couple different feelings. You sit on top. Good. And then I'll run it down, fold it on top, and I run it under. I like to run it under until I feel my knuckles on it, because then I know when I pull it, if my knuckles are touching, see how my knuckles are touching? Right here on this hand, on my top hand. I know if my knuckles are touching, good, then the Psi has to be underneath it, and I can pull it backwards. Because if it goes on top, I can't get my knuckle down. Does that make sense? So there's a couple easy ways to do it from feel. Good. There. You just run it on top, run it in, fold it down. You tilt your hand forward and run your knuckles forward, and then you can pull it back. You don't have to go all the way. I want you to punch it. Okay, but as long as you tilt your knuckles forward, you should be good to go. That's just the way I like to do it. And it's down, over, fold, roll it forward, pull it backwards. Eventually that'll start to happen at the same time. So another way to do it, of course, is to roll this one backwards, this one forward, so it touches, rolls, folds, good to go. There's a couple different ways to do it, and the cool part is when we all come back in studio, if you guys have found a different way for you to learn it, good, or remembered or understand it better, I would love for you to tell me and show me, because everybody learns a different way. And so even if I show how to do this 4 or 5 different ways, that may not be how your brain kind of understands these things. It may learn it a completely different way. And the cool part is there are no wrong answers. As long as we all start from here and get to here, as long as this is the end result and the move is correct, however you got there is correct for you, and that's fine. And a lot of the ways I've actually learned to do this, like this one here, I had a student teach me. That didn't make sense to me until they showed it to me. Like, oh, this is how I remembered it. And I went, oh, that's cool. And so I remember that way too. And so a lot of the moves a lot of the tricks and the ways that we teach some of these techniques, they have come from other students. Not everything I teach was taught to me by my instructor. One of the cool things about teaching and instructing is a lot of the things we use to instruct were from either other instructors. It's all about kind of taking what works for you and then passing it on to others. And so it's not necessarily what always worked for me. Some things work for other students, and I pull that and add that to the ways we teach, because everybody's different. That's kind of the cool thing, is everybody learns a different way. So if I teach something a certain way and you don't understand it that way, that doesn't mean you're not going to learn it. That doesn't mean you don't get it. It's not your fault. That means I have to find a different way to teach it. Okay, it's not your fault if you don't understand it a certain way. But as long as we set the goal together, we have the finish line, we all try to get there together. However it takes you, whatever way you have to figure out to get to that finish line, is fine. That's the way your brain works best, and that's what we're trying to do, is help you understand the way you understand things, the way your brain figures things out, and then try to help really grow that and make it better. That's our goal here. Not just punching and kicking, but learning how to learn for you the best way. All right, so feet together, bow, present up here, fold them down, show the left one. Let's work on the beginning section of the form. Punch, slide, there's your fan from a Fugel stance, strike, down block, step, punch, fan, settle your weight back into that Fugel stance, strike, fold it, down, step, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch left, punch right, open up, step back, there's your block right here, good. And then from there I will make your fan, or make your X block, sorry, open it up, ooh, lost mine, strike it there, step forward, double strike just like that, and then double down block, just the dragons, drop down, punch left, punch right. Stand back up. Good. So just the juniors. Now again, I'm going to turn. So this is, we're both going the same way. So you're here, punch left, punch right. And then we're going to settle to the left in a Fugel stance. There's our Fugel stance. Pull it down. Again, that's you doing a high block, blocking it, and then folding it down, hooking it down, hook block. Step forward, do your combo 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Step forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Step forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Punch left, punch right. Good. We're going to go towards our back leg. Okay. What that means is that's our left side. So our left foot. So we turn to the left. Okay. You're going to take, and the easiest way I think to do this step is just to pivot both feet towards the back wall. Take your left foot, step straight back. Now, when I say straight back, I don't mean put one foot behind the other. Okay. Sometimes that gets confused for that. That means if there's a line, that if I was like on 2 different railroad tracks, right? My left foot's on this railroad track. I want to keep it on that track and just slide it down the track, just like that. So they're not behind each other. Because now I turn to the left. That's the easiest way to make that step happen. Show you where I was. I was here. Turn, step, turn. Now I'm going the direction I want to go. I do a left hand high block. I pull it down. Yes, it is that same set of moves we did going this way, but we're not in a Fugel stance this time. We are in a jungle stance on purpose. So it's block and pull. Step forward, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch left, punch right. And then that very last portion of the form, again, this last portion goes towards the back wall, but it's kind of hard to learn it and like actually practice the techniques while you're not seeing where you're going. So we're just going to kind of take this part and move it out of the form itself. I want you to actually face this way so we can actually, when we spin, we can do that portion going towards the camera still and figure out how we're supposed to do these movements correctly. Then we'll put it back in the form good later once the actual movements make sense. So put your right foot in the front, going back this way to the left. Open up your left hand. Okay, so the side is open in the left hand. We're going to then, okay, we're going to spin all the way around, kind of like we did a second ago when we went to here. But instead of stopping here, we're going to keep going and end up that way. Okay, so the easiest way to make this happen is to, from here, you're going to pick this one up. You're actually going to turn them. Good. Face the back wall, kind of like we did a second ago. Okay, at this point, we are going to put them behind each other. So I literally mean put it behind itself. Okay, I don't know if you can see in the camera, it is very light on this back foot. So I'm heavy on my right foot. I'm on the ball of my left foot. And then all you do from here is take this right foot, turn it. Go ahead, take this left foot, turn it all the way around. So you're now in a Fugel stance going towards the camera. Good. If that spin is very tricky, which it probably is, that's okay. Because what you can also do is just skip the spin for now, as long as you get your body facing the camera with your right foot very heavy and your left foot really light. So you're in that Fugel stance. Okay. You can always just start from here. We'll do the spin later. We won't worry about that right now. Left hand, go behind, around your head, and then we're faking a throw. So you're faking like you're throwing the sai and letting go of it, but you're not going to let go of it. Good. You're going to fold it and hide it to your chest. Right? Step forward with your right foot, throw a punch, open it up, put it in offensive position, turn your back foot. Good. Slide it underneath you, balance on your left foot, set your right foot out into Fugel stance. Bring it around your head the other way, strike, and then shuffle forward, keeping the weight on that back foot. down block. That part's real tricky, and that's okay. So again, a couple ways you work it. You can either start this way and practice the spin. That in itself is really tricky. So if that part's too much right now, then just start from here. Start from this Fugel stance with your left foot in the front. Good. You do a throw down with your left hand, but of course don't let go of it. It's just a fake move. Hide it. That's why you pull it across your chest, is kind of simulating that you have thrown it, but you didn't. It's just hiding across your chest to show there's no sai there. Then I step forward, punch with your right hand, and then you open it into offensive position. It's going to circle around your head, good, just to build power as it strikes. So it points down, it circles, it orbits your head as you shuffle into Fugel stance and strike. Good, and then I shuffle forward, down block. Now, that's a lot. I want to go back and work on just that beginning section again to make sure that's starting to get very, very strong. So we start here. We bow. Good. Full down, present up. Step out, pull down. Yeah. Very good. So we pull the left one. And then you step forward and punch. Good. And then you pull back, fan, step back out, strike, and then I down block. Step forward, punch, fan, strike, down block, step, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch left, punch right, open them both up, step back, pull down, get your X block ready, move your right foot over, slice your left foot, move your left foot over, double strike up, X block, double X block up, step forward, double strike, double down block, very good, just the dragons, punch left, punch right. Okay, just the juniors. Standing, punch left, punch right. Okay, now, slide back a little bit. Let's do it one more time. I have a challenge for you guys. So especially with this form, one of the bigger, most common questions that I've gotten is how to get the footwork a little bit better. Because a lot of times it's not actually the sai part that ends up being the toughest part of learning the forms. It's how to know where your feet are supposed to go and how to make them do that over and over and over. Because a lot of times you spend so much time focusing on how to do the hands right and how to get the sai part correctly that sometimes we just kind of forget about the feet or don't put as much importance on it. Okay, so one of the best ways at first is to put the sai down, to not do them at the same time. Practice getting the combinations right, but then when it's time to do the footwork part, when you're really trying to focus on that, put the sai off to the side. And then another good thing you can do when you're practicing the footwork, so if we're doing just the steps, let's do that middle portion of the form, that's straightforward in the middle, just like the dragons and juniors both do. And so from here you would step out, pull it down, you pull this one, you step, punch, and then so that's where you do the punch from, is this chungle stance. And then when you go to the fan block, you're in what kind of stance? A Fugel stance, a cat stance. So you would turn and practice getting your foot there, because then you can actually take a second look. You can also feel all the weight on the back leg, very light, little amount of weight on the front leg, and then put your foot back where you got it. There's the strike, the punch out, and then the down block. And then you can practice the step, good, to the next one. What you can also do, good, is just do that same combination, that same set from one spot. So instead of advancing down the floor, doing the combination a bunch of different times, start from your righty stance and practice them both from here. So you would do punch, fan, you can do it with me, strike out, down block, and then come back to here, right? And then just practice stepping forwards with the other side. There's my punch, there's my fan block over in the front, I turn it, put it back out, there's the strike, and then here's the down block. Then I would step forward and do that side again. Okay, and then what you can also do once that starts to make sense, especially if you're practicing in the same part, and if it's like a hardwood floor specifically or a tile floor, if you have pieces of tape, good, or like whether it's duct tape or electrical tape, or if you have cones or something you can use to kind of signal or symbol where the feet are going, that's a really big helper, especially for younger students. And so in the beginning, you would take and they would step to their spot to do that punch, right? Because I pull, punch, there's where my foot goes, and so you put a cone right outside their foot, and then from there they go to the second step, there's the block there, and you put a cone on the other side of the foot. And so from that shows them where their feet are supposed to end up. And so they'll start here, and they'll step and do the punch, and make sure they know not to go outside the cone, and then from here you turn, you slide, and it doesn't want to hit the cone, it slides right to the inside. You can either put it the inside. Some students like it better if it's directly in front. If it's like something like a piece of tape, that also works, so they can actually step on the tape, so they kind of have it mapped out on the floor where their feet are supposed to go. So it works the same way. And the cool part about doing it like this is a lot of times it works the same way for both sides. I can step out to chunkle stance. I can slide over to Fugel stance. Put my foot right back where it was for the other part of the form. So just practicing getting stuff like that down where they can physically see where they're going, and they can kind of imagine on the floor and spot on the floor where their speed is supposed to be. A lot of times it helps them remember where that part of the form is a little bit better. So those are kind of the main things, whether it's a cone or I like putting little pieces of tape on the floor. I've had several students do that in the past. It's worked out really well. They will physically map out the entire form good on the floor. I know, if you guys know Mr. Burchett, Trevor Burchett does a really good job with that. Him and his dad will actually map out the entire form in their garage, and it looks really, really cool, and it helps them walk through the whole form knowing where their feet are supposed to go. Because the biggest part about repetition is it's got to be the same. So if they're doing the form 5 times, it needs to be done the same way so their body is programming it properly. But those are just ideas to help you guys help remember the form better, okay? So let's work the form together as a team. Bow, prison up, step out, pull down, pull the left one, and punch. Try to get the stance and strike to land at the same time. Slide back, find the footing as you fan. Good. As you pull it back, that's your moment to pivot that back foot, staying on the ball of your foot. Strike your foot right back out where you got it. Down block, step, punch, fold, pull back. There's your fan. Land in the Fugel stance with the fan. Pivot, strike. There's your down block. Step one more time. Punch, fan, strike, down block, punch left, punch right. Open them both up. Step back. Strong key my stance. Feet are on the same line. Now I'm going to step offline. Good. Strike here. And then step forward. Strike. Double down block. Just the dragons. Drop down. Punch left, punch right. Good. Just the juniors. The dragons I want an extra challenge. Again, we're still going towards the camera. Here. Punch left, punch right. Turn to the left. There's your high block. Pull it back down. And 1 is the punch. 2 is the strike. 3 is the stab. 4 is the down block. Punch. Here's parry and poke. Protect. Good. Punch. Fan block. Strike. Down block. Double punch. Try to work on getting this step and this stance transition more fluidly. Turn to the back wall. Step back. Turn this way. Again, if you're going towards the camera, now we're going to the right side of the room with our left leg in the front. High block with your left hand. Right hand is always tucked in by your belt. Whichever hand you're not using always stays tucked in by your belt. Don't let it droop. Right here. And then pull down. Step forward. There's your punch. Fan. Strike. Down block. Punch. Fan. Strike. Down block. Punch. Fan. Strike. Down block. Punch left. Punch right. Open up the left hand. Okay, if you want, I'm going to do it going the normal form way. So either you can kind of watch this part just so you're kind of getting how the form moves into a perfect T. So you're here. It will go around there. So it's kind of that it's spin in itself can be, it's a lot of parts and it's going to be tricky. But it's going from here. The best thing to do, turn both feet towards the camera. Take your left foot. You want to keep weight on your right foot. Take your left foot and just move it directly behind like you're tight roping. Good. And then from here, notice how on the ball of my back foot, I'm not leaning on it. The weight stays on my right foot. And all I do is I turn to the left, halfway, and then all the way around. At the same time, my left hand will be going around over the right side of my right shoulder, and then coming around and then going down. So it's a lot at one time. And that's okay if we can't get this part right now. Good, but it's pivot. And this hand's already started to make this journey. Good, and then I step back. And then as I turn, it goes behind my back. And there it is. And I fold it and put it away. This part we should be good to go. You take and step out and forward with your right foot. There's your punch. And then I keep this foot here. And this foot slides over to the line. So I go from punch and I stay on this line. Slide under myself. Good, there's my Fugel. Boom, and again, the spin goes around in front because I'm trying to strike from outside to inside, and it's hard to build up enough power just by going like this. That's why I'm doing this turn. Good. Just kind of allow for the range of motion so I can build the power up to do the strike. Good. And then from there I shuffle, and there's your down block. That's the whole rest of the form. Seems like a lot of form until we do a little bit faster. And you'll kind of see that's really not that giant of a form. It's just a lot of very similar movements going a bunch of different directions. And again, if you have that very set combo and you're good at it, then you're good at like 90% of this form, which is a very good place to be. Okay, so we're going to work the form one more time, a little bit faster. Good. This time, you're going to do the form with me instead of me facing the camera. I'm just going to do the form just like we would do it. Good. And so you're here, bow. So this is almost like you're behind me in class. So we're out, pull out, yeah, good. Show the left one, and then I step, punch with my right hand, fan block with my right hand. There's my strike, and down block. Punch, fan, strike, down block. Punch, fan, strike, down block. Double punch, open them both up, step back with your right foot. Good, there's your double down block here. Make your X block, step over, pivot to the front, double block up, step forward, strike forward. Make sure you're not pulling it back here. When you go from X block to strike, it stays in front of your body. I'll take a small second just to show you guys. From here, when you go to do your double strike, don't tilt them backwards. You want to just from here, snap your wrist forward, and it's a strike out to the shoulders of the attacker. So it went here, push. Double down block, just the dragons. Punch, punch, and then juniors stay going. Dragons can also stay going if they want that extra work. Block, pull, keep going. Punch, punch, turn, step, turn, high block, pull down. Punch, fan, strike, down block, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch, fan, strike, down block, punch, punch. Open up your left hand. That part's real tricky. It's okay. Step forward, punch, strike, down. And then that is the rest of the form. Okay, now a good thing to do when we're working the form, whether it's you come into class with a goal or every time we do the form together as a team, you have something else you're working on, you're focusing on very specifically. We try to do that together. Like today, our focus was to take and make the form a little bit more fluid, so we're not breaking it down as much and examining each move. We're trying to make sure we're doing the move, doing the form with some speed. Kind of like we would at a tournament or a belt graduation, because I want to make sure we're starting to get adapted to that level, that speed of the form. Not going as fast as we can, but taking our time and doing the moves without a lot of pauses in them. A very good thing to do when you're working in class or if you're practicing on your own is to make sure every time you do it, there's some goal that's going along with it. You're not just practicing your form to practice your form. You're trying to make sure that either every time you do it, your stances are really strong, or every time you do it, you're paying close attention to doing the strikes properly, and you're making sure they're going right to the correct spot. So when you do a fan block, it's not way over here, right? When you do a down block, it's not out in front. It's right over your knee. The moves have very specific locations. Your punches aren't over here. Where are they? Right in the center of the chest. Your fan blocks are right about head high, right? And so, or you're trying to make sure that if you know your strikes are really good, you're trying to make sure that your stances, and then more importantly, the transition of the stances, which means like going from chungal to fugal back to chungal. Okay, making sure those things happen very confidently. You're trying to find the same spots every time. Okay, so every time you practice a form, try to have a goal or a challenge, something to really pay attention to when you're doing it, so that at the end of class, you know you're better than when you were when class started. That should be a bigger goal. Okay, every time you do a class, if you can look back at the end of class and say, I'm better now than I was when class started, then it was a good class. Okay, some classes are a little bit tougher than others. Some classes it's harder to find those positives. That's kind of your role and your goal as a martial artist, is to make sure that every time you do a class, you're getting just a little bit better. We're not trying to get better by leaps and bounds right away. That will happen over time. Okay, your goal is just to get a little bit better at something, whether it's your intensity or your focus or your balance or your discipline. But every single time we step onto the mat and do our very best. Okay? Very good job today. Dragons, that's all the classes for you. Beginner belts, you guys have your class coming up in just a couple minutes. Feet together. Bow. Good work today, guys. You are dismissed.